It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Well, happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Dustin Nielsen, Cass and Gager back with you once again. And I apologize. I had some computer issues yesterday. It would not power up. I was in full-blown panic mode for a couple of hours, but we are back and everything is going to be okay. The Stanley Cup Final is set. If you want to bet it, of course, you can do that over at CoolBet. Sign up for an account today if you haven't yet. Use the code 2GUYS, number 2 in the word guys. And the Florida Panthers, slight underdogs in this series against the Golden Knights. Two Guys and Goalie in the Nielsen Media CoolBet Network. Boys, how's the weekend? Cass, what'd you get up to, buddy? Take it pretty easy
good.
Or what? Yeah.
Well, as easy as I could. I was on daddy duty sort of again this weekend. So last weekend, like not this one, the one before, my wife was prepping. She was doing some teaching up in Grand Prairie. Then this weekend, she was actually doing that. So she was up in Grand Prairie at a conference all weekend. So I was on daddy daycare again all weekend. So I came into the office on Monday. I'm like, why am I so tired? And then I was like, wait a second. That's why. So it was a good weekend, a lot of fun with the girls, but yeah, it was just daddy time. So a little swimming lessons, some running around. It was good.
My wife was gone on Friday night. I'm going to be gone every weekend, like starting this weekend for a long time. So she got a hotel, kind of went and had some time to herself. And so I had daddy time on Friday night. And I'm proud to say that the kids passed the Phantom Menace level of the Lego game on Nintendo Switch. I was very good. And then right before Mummy came home on Saturday, they beat Darth Maul. So Tam comes home and she's like, you guys been playing video games all day? I was like, oh, no, not all day. And the kids are like, we beat Darth Maul. It took forever. And I was just like, oh, you're killing daddy here. But yeah, no, it was good. And Gager, do you miss daddy weekends? Like, I mean, your kids are older now.
No. Yeah, they're way older. They're my daughter's kind of getting friends to some of her friends are graduating, so she's going to graduation like get-togethers, and my son's at work, so I actually went into Hearts and had a beer and went and saw him at work.
Nice. That's so different than us.
It's so different. My daughter's getting ready to go to nationals for dance, I guess, and yeah, my son went and got a tattoo yesterday. So yeah,
Is it of you? Is it of your face? Because that would be awesome.
It would be great. No, he got.
Did you know he was getting the tattoo, or did he come home with the tattoo? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My neighbor actually. Well, you guys know Trans-Sandwith, GS Construction. All those guys go to her, and she lives down the block from me. It's a Wells Made Tattooing. She does all their work. Did Turan's tattoo, which is really cool. My son's got a Zelda like thing on his chest now. So yeah, it's
like from the game, like a Zelda
from the
thing?
game. Yeah,
no way.
Yeah. I'll get a picture of it and show it to you. It looks actually really cool, but I couldn't do that. You don't spray paint the Louvre.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. You know, when he takes his shirt off for nerdy girls, they're gonna love it. Like, oh my god, a Zelda tattoo! Like,
it's and the new one, like he's like I gotta hand it to, because my son does enjoy the video games and stuff. Yeah. But he's got final exams like coming up, and I go. Because I used to buy him games, and now he has to buy his own. I might throw in one.
It's a working man.
Yeah, so I go, you haven't bought the new Zelda game yet. That's crazy. And he goes, Dad, I have finals coming up. You know that if I had that game, I would fail every one of those tests. So he's actually he's putting it off till he's actually done. Then he's going to go get it. And he told his girlfriend and me that he probably won't see him for 2 weeks.
That's it. It's locked right in. Cass, do you have a Zelda tattoo story or what?
No, not a Zelda tattoo story, but it was a sort of funny story, I guess, from yesterday. So we have some friends that are moving, and so they got everything out of their house and they're just doing like some cleaning, just out of courtesy for the people that bought the house. And so my wife went over and she was helping them. So she was gone. And right after the, when the Vegas game, when it was out of reach, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna whatever. The kids are down. I am tired. I
Video
don't have any
game
brain
time.
capacity left. So a little video game time. So I hopped on, and it was earlier than like normally. If I have video game time, it's usually at like 10 o'clock at night. Like Manny's gone to bed, and I'm sacrificing my own sleep to play. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna play a little Fortnite. My buddies aren't on because they're all still with their kids and their families. So I'm just gonna go drop in with some random people. And I ended up in a squad with someone that was streaming, like live streaming, and talking, and it was so bad. Like and like the person's name, it was, I'm not even gonna repeat it. Like I had no idea. I don't even want to search for who this like with the name, because it was like, what was it? It was like,
were they just talking
girl.
shit about you? Like, was it? Like,
no, they were
okay.
just talking like, hey, so and so, thanks for joining the stream, like this and this. I'm just gonna try. Like, can somebody find me a DMR? I just want to like playing this game, and I'm just going like, this is so horrible. Like, I could not believe. I'm like, anyone that's signing in, I'm like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why you would watch this person play video games. I'm like, A, they were horrible at the game. B, they were talking like it was bad. It was horrible.
How
but
long
I never
did you play
before.
for?
Just the whole round. I mean, I had to stick around. It was so bad that I'm like, I have to stay around for this. And I didn't. I kept my mic on mute. Like I didn't want to say anything. I mean, but I was just like, dude, this is. Oh, so subset of video game culture. So it was like it was so bad. It was funny. Like just
Wow.
I'm just like the level of conversation that this person is having while playing. I'm just like I don't know who would follow that person and listen to him, but it was just something else. So my first experience with video game streaming live, gentlemen.
I feel like we can blame Jake Ottinger for that, because if the Dallas Stars would have been in the game, you might have watched the hockey game.
I would have, yeah.
Man, well, just start your thoughts on. I mean, Dallas like no showing in Game 6.
No, didn't show up. Maybe it's a Jamie Benn problem. He's back in the lineup and they drop it. No, I don't think it's a Jamie Benn thing, but I think it was more so Vegas just putting their foot down and saying, nope, we're gonna win, and Ottinger. I think even if Ottinger played well, Vegas was a better team that game.
Yeah.
And I think like Ottinger would have had to do something not just spectacular, like it would have to be beyond spectacular, or would have had to have been for them to stay in it, because Vegas they were just a better team. They wanted it more. They executed better. They executed their game plan. Dallas just looked a little lost, and maybe it was just the build up from momentum and not getting much of a pushback from Vegas, and then Vegas just pushed big right off the start of the game, and they just weren't able to deal with it.
Gager, I mean, Ottinger probably couldn't have saved that, but what have you thought of his playoffs? Like last year he was so good in that 7-game series, right? He was amazing, but it still wasn't enough. This year he's kind of been up and down, and I don't know what this means for like the way we view Ottinger going into next season, you know?
Yeah, no, it's puzzling because like you mentioned, last year against the Flames, we were going, oh my gosh, the Dallas Stars have solidified all their goaltending issues. This is the guy of the future, one of the best goalies in the league, and he shows that at points throughout the regular season, and everyone thought that he was just going to replicate what he did last year. And I found his game very inconsistent throughout the whole playoffs, and he was for that team to do well, he has to play at a very high level, and every team's goalie does at this time of year. But surprising, Dusty. I was shocked at what he was able to produce yesterday, and I think that's a little bit of the Golden Knights too. They just imposed themselves on this series from game one, and it got to the point they took the will away from the Stars halfway through that first period, where they were just like, you could see on the bench, they were just like, what, we can't, there's nothing we have here. They didn't show, like Cass said, no bounce back, none of that stuff. Like I said on your show, Dusty, the Vegas Golden Knights are a really good team. They take the will away from the other team by the end of it. And by the end of the series, the other teams usually have nothing left.
Stanley Cup final will not start until Saturday, so we will have more time to actually dive into that here as we get a better feel for what these two teams might bring to the table. But Cass, what's your initial thoughts here on a Panthers team that, I mean, they rolled over the Bruins in the last half of that series, then rolled over the Leafs and got by the Hurricanes, even though it was a relatively evenly played series. What are your initial thoughts here on the Panthers facing the number 1 seed in the West?
I think it's going to be a lot more like the Boston series in that they're going to need Bobrovsky to be really, really good. I think Vegas is a better team than Carolina because they have some guys that are game breakers, but they have good depth players too. I mean, the big story to me in this is going to be Adin Hill versus Bobrovsky, and it's going to be who cracks. Which I mean, I lean Florida in this. I want Vegas to win, I think, between the two, but I lean Florida in this because I think the goaltending right now. Now, Adin Hill playing well. I don't know that
he's had some games, right? Like he's stepped up big
he's
a few
had
times.
some games, but I don't know if he has been as tested as Bobrovsky has been, where it's like Bobrovsky is clearly on a heater. Hill has been pretty good, but it's not like he's won his team a whole bunch of games. Like he hasn't stolen games yet. The team has just played really, really well, which maybe is enough to win too. So it'll be interesting here, but I mean, Adin Hill, if anything, Adin Hill is the story going into this is like, can he play well enough to get the Vegas Golden Knights the cup? Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I would say it's more like the Boston series where it's going to be, I think, decently evenly matched. Going to be a lot of up tempo. You're going to have rested teams on both sides because they're waiting a million years here.
Yeah.
Which puts an interesting twist on it too. Is the Florida Panthers will have been just sitting there for basically like 10 days.
10 days.
Which is crazy. So they're going to be healthy, but they're going to be rusty potentially. So it's going to be a fun one. Going to be interesting. I think it's going to be tight between the two of them.
Gage, your smooth earphone transition mid-episode, buddy. That was pretty good.
It wasn't that smooth, buddy. That was a hornet's nest of wires I had to undo there. But there's a beep in my wireless headphones that I have. These are old. I haven't heard that in a while, and it sounded like there was a fire in our recording studio there. And I was looking.
Oh,
at
it was
YouTube,
that like
you
constant
guys hear
beep?
that? What's going on? But I realized I'm out of juice. So, what were we saying?
We were talking about early thoughts on the Panthers and the Golden Knights, buddy.
Okay, I really think the fairy tale run to the cup is going to end horribly for the Florida Panthers here.
Really?
The Knights are a team possessed, man. They're just so structured and mean and big. Bobrovsky's going to have to even get to a different level. I just think that the Knights are way too deep for the Panthers to do anything in this series. With the time off now, I think it actually benefits the Golden Knights just to keep playing, and it's going to be quick.
So, Gager, you view the Golden Knights that much better than Boston, Toronto, and Carolina? Because that's 3 pretty good teams that Florida went through with kind of relative ease.
Yeah, but they weren't the teams that we saw in the regular season either. I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
The Leafs had nothing against them. That was a joke, right? The Bruins. The Bruins played great for 3 games. I mean, Game 7 was a good game by the Bruins.
It was a good game.
Yeah, that was a really good game, but just that amount of momentum that they built. I'm not saying Florida's bad, but I just think it's just like playing golf, Dusty. Like when you play golf at the beginning of the year, you suck. And if you can play every other day, you're going to get like the level of play right now is so good in the NHL, especially when you get to the Stanley Cup Finals. But when I watch both of these teams, I think that the Knights are just at a way higher level than the Florida Panthers are, and it's not going to be pretty.
Just thoughts on Bobrovsky and the layoff, Gager, because I mean the Florida's going to win this series. Bobrovsky is going to have to be good. Probably not enough room to have an off game because he hasn't played in 10 days. So do you think that impacts him significantly?
No, because I just think with his experience and his what he's been able to do so far and kind of revitalizing his career, I think he could make the most of this time where the moment won't get too big for him, I don't think. And he's just going to, he's going to be key for these guys, because I do think that the one thing that the Knights have had the advantage of is average goaltending going up against an average goaltender. We haven't seen a goaltender in this whole playoffs against the Knights get into the heads of the shooters a little bit and make them do things that maybe they didn't want to do and trying to do too much. So if that's the only chance I think for the Panthers to, if Bobrovsky can get to that level of getting into the heads of the Knights shooters, maybe they had a puncher's chance.
Katz, do you think it's got to be Bobrovsky stealing this thing, or are the Panthers good enough to outplay the Golden Knights and win 2 or 3 of these games?
I think they're good enough to outplay them. The Florida Panthers are really good. They're a really good team. So are the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas has shown their depth. Again, they won that last series. Did Eichel have a goal in the series? I don't think he had a goal in the series. Like you have in the Vegas Golden Knights the ability to put up some goals, to challenge Florida. Yeah, listen, again, I think this is going to be a really close series. Like I think it's going to be tight. They absolutely. I think it goes 7 games. I probably got Florida in 7.
Really?
I think
so. Going on the road and winning Game 7. Yeah.
Well,
Gager, what's your official prediction? Because I'm on Panthers in 6.
Yeah, I got Vegas in 5, but it'd be good if it went 7, because essentially, by the end of this series, isn't it time for training camp after this thing's all said and done? It's like, geez, this is dragging on forever.
Well, if you're not going to start the series until Saturday, then look, if we like it, let's say in 7, Vegas to win in 7 over at coolbet.com right now versus get these odds. Vegas to win in 7, it's plus 450. The Florida Panthers to win in 7, it's plus 585. So there's some value there if you do expect this series to go 7. I could see it going 7. I took Panthers in 6, and I think they get it done on home ice. I don't know. Well, like Florida with Tkachuk and Bennett, like they play with an edge and some physicality that I think could maybe cause some issues for Vegas. Dallas didn't do that a ton. When Edmonton did that, they had some success. They just didn't do it consistently enough. And I don't think that Winnipeg forward group, that top 6, is built to play that way. So I wonder if that causes some issues for the Golden Knights. But Gager, you think they hold up there as well?
Yeah, I think they do. It'd be. I don't know what it is, but when I look at Radko Gudas, I just think of Gimli in Lord of the Rings, and just that little guy just swinging his axe around, and it's going to be an interesting series. I think the physicality, like you said, I think that's going to cause a few more issues. Tkachuk's going to try to impose his will and get under the skin of other players. Maybe we get Pietrangelo hacking and whacking again and getting a game suspension for taking out their best players. But for some reason, I just feel, just watching the Knights of what they did, even last night, just the game's well in hand, and they're still just beating the crap out of the Stars, like just stomping on their heads, complete curb stomping last night. I don't know. I think they're well equipped to handle all that stuff as well.
Cass, one thing that we haven't talked about is this Vegas team, not the entire group, not Eichel, but not the entire group, but this Vegas team has been to 4 conference finals. Now their second Stanley Cup final. If you buy into the theory of you have to lose to learn how to win, the Smiths and the Marchessaults, like these guys had Stone, those guys have been there. Whereas Florida's been on this great run, but they don't have a group they have a group that won the President's Trophy last year and suffered a loss there. And obviously that has gone a long way. They made the changes and everything to make their team better, and it clearly worked. But is there an experience advantage here for the Golden Knights as a group?
Maybe a little bit, slightly. I would say slight experience advantage for sure. Playing in those big moments. Haven't the last 2 Stanley Cup winners been teams that won the President's Trophy and then lost in the first round? Mm-hmm. And Florida's in that same situation again here. So it's like, yes, I absolutely buy into it. Like, experience is important. Experience is good. Both teams to get to this point in the playoffs, you have gained playoff experience. You have played in big moments every single round here, because they're all big moments leading up to it. Like, you have to play and play well in those moments to win. I mean, Florida knocked off the Boston Bruins. They knocked off the Toronto Maple Leafs. They knocked off the Carolina Hurricanes, and they did it well. Now, could you say, okay, well, they didn't face enough adversity, and the second that they do, we don't know how they'll respond? I think that's a fair argument, and fair to say that if let's say Florida wins game one, that Vegas has enough experience that they're not going to panic, they're not going to freak out. That maybe that's where the experience helps, is if things go sideways, they're not just going to crumble. They're like, well, we've been here before, we can do this, and maybe have a little bit more there. So I think the experience is important, but to me, I don't know. It's not the be all end all. It's not.
You make a good point. Playoff experience with this group along the way. They've all been in some big moments. They've been in overtime games. They faced some adversity. Panthers being down to Boston the way they were, and then having clutch moments against Carolina as well. So yeah, maybe that doesn't factor in too much. All right, so we'll have more time to get into that series on Thursday with the puck not dropping until Saturday. We're not going to do an episode of Two Guys and a Goalie at any point in the offseason not talking about the Edmonton Oilers. So the one conversation that popped up on my show this morning, Gage, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but that's like with the top 6 next year. And I know it's a Yamamoto discussion, but you've got 5 guys locked in: Kane, Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent, Hyman. Cass, who do you want that 6th forward to be? Is it running back Yamamoto? Is it elevating Holloway? Does it have to be somebody from outside that you bring in to give it a little bit of a different look? Where do you come out on that?
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Like, that's the big question, I think, for this group. Is who slides in. Now, I think for Yamamoto, he had a year he wants to go differently next year. He's not going to be happy with his year. Organization wasn't happy with his year. Regressed a little bit in terms of point production, his ability to finish. It just wasn't a great year for him. So are you going to look at this and say, okay, well, we expect him to bounce back? Or are you going to look at it and say, okay, well, we need to find someone else? The Holloway thing, the tricky part with that is you're not going to get to see him again in an NHL uniform till the season starts up. And if you are going to bring in an outside piece, you're probably going to want to do it like at the draft.
Yeah, unless it's a deadline thing, right? But
unless it's a deadline thing, but then that gets a little bit tougher, a little bit more expensive. And so for Holloway, it's like, well, are you going to gamble on that? And is he going to be ready to take on an NHL role? He very well might be. After a little bit more pro seasoning, a little bit of time in the AHL, he might be. But you're gambling on that because, as we saw last year, Holloway was fantastic in camp, absolutely fantastic. Played really, really well. And then the second we got to NHL only lineups, well, he started to struggle a little bit, made some horrible turnovers and struggled to find his game, probably stayed in the NHL, and because of injuries, part of it. But he stayed in the NHL too long, playing too few minutes. And, we finally saw back when he was in the AHL, him to start to put together some production and some good games and start to play well. Is he ready? So maybe let me rephrase this back to you, Dusty, and ask you this question, and Gager too. Do you think Dylan Holloway, where he stands right now, is ready to be a top 6 winger in a Stanley Cup final?
As of right now.
As of right now,
no. But I think he's also in the spot where I'd like to see him play 60 games before the deadline and get that opportunity to have a better answer to that question. I feel like that might be a spot where if Holloway steps up and fits in well and contributes, then all of a sudden that's one less thing you have to get at the deadline. I think you need to have that answer before. And the scary part is you go out, you pay somebody or you trade. However, I don't know how they're going to change the top 6 anyway with somebody from outside the market. But let's say you do that, you trade Yamamoto and you give somebody $3.5 million that you like, whatever. Well, yeah, whatever happens.
Trading Broberg too, probably.
So, but then I'm looking at it and going, okay, well, now you've blocked Holloway from being a top 6 forward for the next 3 years, and maybe he ends up being better than that guy, and then you're stuck on the contract, kind of like the Campbell thing, where you pay Campbell to be your number 1 guy, and I'm not saying move Campbell, but now Skinner's your guy, and you're stuck paying Campbell $5 million to do more do less than you originally thought he would have to. So I'd rather see them test drive Holloway even for 2 or 3 months, but actually play him the 14, 15 minutes a night that Yamamoto would get in the top 6. Gager, where do you come out on this? You're kind of like the tiebreaker here.
Well, I'm a little bit wait and see. Yamamoto had a rough year. I think injuries had a lot to do with it. Concussion issues. The problem that I saw with Yamamoto in both series is he was manhandled physically. There wasn't, and I look on the other side of the coin and I look at Jonathan Marchessault and I like that player wins battles and does things that I think Yamamoto is capable of. But he has to get to a point where he's producing like Marchessault does. I think they're the same stature. I think the skill level is kind of similar of what they can do. Yamamoto just didn't finish at all. And it's the tale of 2 seasons, really, Dusty. The Oilers are good enough to get to the playoffs, but once they get there, is Yamamoto or Dylan Holloway the type of player that can produce and be a difference maker when it counts most? And that's what we're going to have to kind of look at throughout the audition of, what does Coach Woodcroft call it? The auditions, or he makes a dance reference. I should know this.
You are a dance dad. Come on.
Yeah, whatever it is. Throughout the regular season and getting ready for game 83. And I'm worried. I worry about them going outside and bringing something in for the exact reasons of what you just said, having the Jack Campbell situation of a guy coming in and having to use the other guy anyway, and losing the flexibility of cap space at that point. See what you have internally first. Get through the auditions of the regular season, and then when it gets closer to the trade deadline, let's see what's available and if it's needed at that time. Is what my approach would be.
They might be forced to do that anyway, just because of cap situations, right? So there could be an opportunity here where,
and people that are talking about getting rid of Jack Campbell and freeing up that room are absolutely crazy. Because to have like Cass's great number of under 8 million for your goalies is perfect. It's what you want if you can have that. It's just ridiculous to get rid of him, because who are you bringing in? And if Skinner falters, you have a perfect duo right now, I think, where Jack Campbell had a bad year. I expect him to bounce back, and he had Skinner, who's an all-star and could possibly be rookie of the year. So stop it.
You don't believe in the text messages we get saying you trade Campbell and Skinner for Connor Hellebuck and then sign him to like a deal that would pay him more than those 2 guys. So, yeah. We're just getting started, boys. It's not even May. It feels like the Oilers have been out of the playoffs for 2 bloody months. And we just finished the 3rd round of the playoffs. So we'll have more Oilers discussion. I've got a scenario I want to run by you guys on Thursday as far as the Oilers go as well. So we'll save it for that. I will say, I just want to wrap up this episode with a little disappointment. I got a beautiful haircut yesterday, and neither of you bastards said a single thing about it. Come on, boys. My God.
I guess that.
Does it not look good? Just tell me the truth. Tell me the truth.
You look fresh. You got a little bit of a fade there on the sides. I like it.
Thanks, Cass. I never had a fade before. Is that what that is? That's kind of Gager. What's you're hesitant here? Just tell me the truth, buddy. Like,
oh, it's good. I figured you're a caterpillar in the winter, Dusty, and you're going into your chrysalis phase right now, getting ready for the CFL season.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to see that bright, shining face all shaved up on Fridays and Saturdays and gracing my TV screen.
I'm contemplating becoming bearded TV guy. What do you think?
Do it.
You think so? Like not a big beard, like something like this, right? Like just a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I can be that guy. I got to get approval, I feel, from somebody at TSN to become bearded TV guy. But I don't know. I don't think I have that rep just yet to grow whatever I want for facial hair. So I have to be a clean shaven guy that looks like I'm 24 years old for the next couple months.
Throw it out at the Spengler, Dusty. Throw out a little bit of shake on the Spengler.
You know what? Kent had a little bit of a beard at the Spengler.
Yeah.
I roll that out there. Oh, man. Bearded mountain man, Dusty at the Spengler. I don't mind that idea. All right. Well, that'll be good. All right, boys. We have a good couple of days. We'll be back continuing to get you set for the Panthers and the Golden Knights on Thursday. If you want to bet that series, you can do it right now over at coolbet.com. And I'll run my next Oilers scenario by you on Thursday as well, guys. We'll talk to you then.
See you, boys.